Hi, Chris here from Truly Holistic. In this video, I'm going to be talking about geometry, and geometry is a big part of what I do here at Truly Holistic. I do all the dowsing work, which is obviously the kind of detective work, let's say. We find out where the problem is or what the problem is, whether that's in a part of the physical body, part of the energy body, and then the next part of it is amplifying that intention to remove an energy or intended energy within a client, and we're using the amplification tool I use here is geometry. Now that could be the Vesica Pisces that I use, which is this tool here, or it could be the chestahedron, which is this tool here. Okay. Now geometry. What is geometry? Geometry are shapes and designs. And geometry is essentially just a formation of structure. A structure. And there are bases of structure everywhere we see in nature. Okay, and we're going to talk a bit more about this. And the structure is the key part of this. Structure allows to hold information, to amplify intent. If something's not structured, when we can't do that. So, with the tools I use here at Truly Holistic, the main one I've been using is obviously the chestahedron. Now, chestahedron is a seven-sided shape or design, which was created by an artist called Frank Chester, hence the word or name chestahedron. And it's made up of three kite-like shapes, which are also a diamond, and also four triangles. Okay, so that's just a design of shape. Now, at the moment, where humanity needs to be is the seventh dimension, which I'm calling the dimension of love, because the highest vibration is love, the lowest vibration is fear. Okay, so we look at the spectrum of vibration. At the lowest end is fear, the highest end is love. Okay, we want to be up as near to the highest end as possible, because love is what creates everything to work correctly within the body and in an energy body. And it's a great repellent to these low vibrational entity attachments and these extraterrestrial influences that are trying to get loose from you, which is a low vibrational energy. So also Frank Chester found that the geometry of the heart, the organ the heart, is a chestahedron. Okay, so it's a seven-sided shape. And he found that when the heart is not working at its fullest, which we call in medical terms congestive heart failure, where it gets weakened energetically, because the heart is an energetic organ, okay? And when it loses its energy, which we call congestive heart failure, then the design or the geometry of the heart changes. It's not a seventh dimensional geometry anymore. It goes into 6D and 5D. Okay, and then loses its vibration in that way. So when we're using geometry here, we look at the whole body, we look at the whole universe. The universe is made up of geometry. Okay, so another tool I use here, which is the Vesica Pisces, and you'll see here there's two pyramids stacked upon each other, and all these wires around it, which give the feminine design of Vesica Pisces. And if you Google the geometry of Vesica Pisces, the geometry of the reproductive system, of the female reproductive system, will come up. The Earth is currently in a feminine energy, not a masculine energy at the moment. So this geometry is in tune with where the Earth is at the moment and the universe is at the moment. And I use this tool just as much as really the chestahedron tool. Certain clearings will require this one. Certain clearings will require the chestahedron. And the Vesica Pisces facilitates 4D, 5D, and further up. And when we look at just the general design of a pyramid, and a lot of these are pyramid tools, is the pitch of the pyramid is vital. So we look at the Giza pyramids in Egypt. They've got a certain inclination, which we call a pitch, that really holds us in 3D. Okay, and so very similar to the pitch that these ones. This is a tool that I used to use. It's a triple pyramid tool, and it's a wonderful design. But this is the pitch of the Giza pyramids, one of these. But you'll see these three of them stacked on top of each other, and when they're stacked on top of each other in this geometry, it gives off the Star of David, as you can see there. Okay, it's a Star of David. Okay, so there's a lot of geometry within this, including a sun ring within here, which is another geometry I use to intend positive vibrational or a positive energetic change. So this is why this is powerful, because of the many designs it has in it, but the Star of David there. So it gives it the amplifying quality of the energy. So this pitch is like the Giza pyramids. Now the pitch of the pyramids that are on the Vesica Pisces is more inclined. Okay, it's a different pitch, which then opens 4D, 5D, and further. So these are the geometries I use here at Truly Holistic. Now going back to just geometry and the basis of how geometry works is, let's look at silica dioxide. Okay, now that is, silica dioxide is one glass and is one quartz crystal. Now, silica dioxide in a non-structured form is glass. Okay, when you drop glass, it shatters, right? Because there's no geometry, no structure to it. Okay, it cannot hold information. On the other way, silica dioxide, in regards to a quartz crystal, is structured, and you'll notice if you drop it, then it cleaves off on a certain structure or geometry design. It doesn't shatter, and it holds information. That's why a crystal can be used as an amplification of intent, where glass isn't or cannot be, because it is based on this whole ideation of structure. Okay, so we can look also into water. And Dr. Emoto has done a lot of research in regards to intention of water, intention of which can change structure of the water. Now, when we look at different types of water, and this is really important about the quality of water, not just the quantity, is that we want to get a structured water into our diet. And water is more important than food when it comes to diet. And this is really the thing that a lot of people don't see, is that when we are wanting to change our diet and get healthier, the number one thing we should be looking at before we even look at food is water. What type of water are we drinking? Is it structured or is it not structured? The majority of tap water or municipal quality water is that it's not structured. Okay, it's got a lot of contaminants in it. It's not a great water, and actually, because it's not structured, you can drink as much as you want of it, but you can, at the cellular level, still become dehydrated. Okay, we want structured water, water that has information in it. And that is a basis of why spring water is great, because spring water is water that gets seeped down into an aquifer below the Earth's crust, and through the filtration process of going through all the layers of rock and clay and all these different carbon-based layers and so on, is that it cleans the water, it cleanses the water. And a lot of the times the water that are in these aquifers are hundreds or thousands of years old, before industrial times. So it's non-contaminated water for a majority of springs. Depends on the depth of the spring, depends if it's a spring or a well. Now, the key about spring water is that an energy comes into us, levitation, which is the difference or counterbalance to gravity. Okay, it actually cancels out gravity, because the water comes up, it goes against gravity. And usually with the laws of gravity, if something's resisting or going against gravity, friction will be created, which means heat. But when the spring water comes up to the surface from levitational properties, the water's cold, which really bypasses this whole physics paradigm of what we think gravity is. So spring water, when it comes up to the surface, is a structured water. It has formation. Therefore, it is in formation. That's the word where the word information comes from. It's in formation. Because it's structured, it can hold information. Okay? So, can you intend water to have other things in it or to be more healing? For sure, you can, because spring water is structured. Okay, now if there's structure, it can amplify intent. Okay, whether it's a crystal, a mineral crystal, whether that's crystallized water, structured water, or that's a form of geometry in regards to the tools I use here at Truly Holistic. Now, another geometry I'm really getting into at the moment is the Merkaba, or Merkaba. And there's other forms of that. There's Merkava and there's Merkana as well, which just a bit more an advancement on this Merkaba structure. And there's been research done by Polish researchers, Radoslaw Krapikiewicz. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But they've been looking at light particles and the photon. What is the structure of the light, or the structure of the photons? Because we talk about the whole theory of the Big Bang theory, or how the universe got created. Did the universe get created by one single photon or light? Okay, and we always hear about love and light with light healers, of course. Light plays a big part in this, and that's the photon. So what is the geometry of the photon? What is the structure of the photon? And what these researchers, Polish researchers, found was that their theory is that possibility that the Merkaba fractalized, this geometry fractalized, and the structure of the photon was a Merkaba. Okay? And obviously David Wilcock has had his say in regards to this research as well, and talked about the fact that it is a Merkaba design, the photon. So a Merkaba design is made up of many tetrahedrons, which again is geometry. So again, it's just proof in the pudding that this whole universe is all about geometry, and it's all about design, all about structure. And that, when we get into geometry, we find out that we are just trying to learn about the geometry of all the things that we have all around us, and use our manifestation capability alongside with geometry becomes a very powerful device. And this is how I use or make energy changes here at Truly Holistic. So anyway, I thought I'd do this video in regards to talking about geometry and the implications in regards to not just geometry with the tools I use here, but geometries everywhere, all around us. And by getting a great water supply, we can use the structured spring water to heal ourselves, because obviously our body is made up of water. The universal solvent in the universe is water. So we can use water to heal us, but in a lot more powerful way by using intention in structured water. But also realizing anything that has geometry or structure to it. Therefore, information, this whole thing about wisdom and information, is going to heal us. Okay? We couple that with our intent, then all of a sudden we can make some miracles happen. So I hopefully you've learned something from this video, and please comment below. I'd like to hear your suggestions in regards to geometry. Thank you.